What is the question most commonly asked by your readers back home, and how do you answer?
Oh, the question most commonly asked is something fairly pedestrian, like where do you get your inspiration from and things like that. Once I get answering, I answer all the other 10 or 12 imaginary questions I have in my head. Uh, yeah, that's the question I get asked. I speak about my work in books, and I think if you live a life in literature, then as a writer, then you borrow. I mean, half of what's on in your brain comes from life, and the other half comes from literature, and you're continuously in your mental space. You are bringing uh, life, the things that are happening in your life, and the situations you're encountering in books, or the language you find in books, or the style of books together, and trying to put them together in some kind of dialogic relationship all the time. So both of them feed off each other. So I guess, I mean, that's the question I am asked most frequently, and this is how I answer.
Is there a single book, author, or teacher who at this point in your career seems to you a singularly strong influence?
I wouldn't say. I think there's so many influences in my work that they kind of balance each other out, and each one is maybe a small tinge in my work. But let me try and think of. I'd say maybe the one novel which really showed me all the things that could be done with novels was a book called The Professor's House by an American writer, Willa Cather, which I read when I was 22, which has a kind of three-part structure. I mean, I won't go into the details of it here, but it's a very interesting structure that suddenly showed me how that a story is not just about narrating the content of a story, but also organizing it formally so that all its colors come through in the most striking or intriguing way, or in a way that's faithful to the root of that story. So if there's one work outside, maybe it's that.
Where do you usually write?
At my desk of my very tiny, ratty little apartment in Bombay in the mornings. It's a small wooden carved desk which I bought from a second-hand store in Bombay's flea market called Chor Bazaar for 6,500 rupees in 2003, about $150, and its value is much more than that now. It's a very lovely piece of work.
What are the hardest environmental circumstances in which you've managed to get work done?
Oh, I would be very disinclined to sound negative at all, because I feel like if you want to be a writer, you acknowledge first on that it's going to be very difficult, and lots of times it's going to be very dispiriting. So I guess maybe the first year that I was working on a book, when I had very little income, I was living with my mother, making no money whatsoever, and I was trying to put together a book reviewing life alongside, so that I could keep up some other work as a balance to work in my novel, and also to earn some income, because then it would be a while before my books yielded anything. So yeah, maybe 2006 or 7, but I'd say it's. I can imagine lots of other circumstances in which it would be harder for writer. For instance, if you had a family, or family responsibilities, which I still don't. Trying to write a book under those circumstances, or trying to take time off a job to write, I think these are much more difficult things than anything that I've had to face.
How do you recharge your batteries?
Going out in the city, meeting people, speaking to friends. I find conversation, talk, it really lightens my soul. I mean, I've get a lot of things out of it. I listen very closely to how people talk, and I find it gives me lots of ideas for my work. So I have a kind of two-part day whereby till noon or lunch I'm going to sit at home. I have a very solitary life. I work by myself, and then in the afternoons or evenings I might head out, meet people, and then come back again and read for a couple of hours before I sleep.
What is your favorite quiet place in Iowa City?
Let me think. I've spent many very happy reading hours lying on my back on the grass at Howard Park, which is opposite the hotel, which struck me as a very good place to read. There's not many places in Bombay surely where you can read a page and then look over the sky or smell the grass or just roll around a bit, and it's very, very comfortable. But I can think of some other good places. Uh, there's a couch at the entrance to, or there's a sofa, or like a big comfortable chair at the entrance to Haunted Bookshop, which seems to me like a very nice place to work. I'm a person who never spends any time in libraries other than issuing books. I don't like working in libraries, so I haven't spent much time there. But yeah, I guess outdoors, there are lots of very lovely outdoor places.
What has most surprised you here?
Mm, the overall quality of the experience. I think there hasn't been a day that I haven't taken something away that I'm going to keep, and that hasn't been a good day where I've learned something or engaged in some kind of significant interaction or done something that's valuable. I had no experience of America before arriving here, so in a way, just the plain fact of the violent colors of fall, the reds and the pinks and the yellows, and running by the river, or working out what a dime and a nickel and a quarter are, which I didn't know anything about. I mean, these are surprising things which were fun to do. I'm sorry if I'm sounding very basic here,
No.
but yeah, I think in general I came expecting that it would be very good, was surprised at how good it was, and so I'm going to take back plenty of very happy memories.
Can you imagine anything specifically from this time finding its way into your work?
I think the general tone of my experience, the kind of air of laughter, of conversation, of a kind of sparkiness, which is actually absent from a lot of my life in Bombay, because I lead a much quieter life there. There's a certain note in that, and in general, the character of American life, the easygoing way of the people, some kinds of the relaxed manner of American speech, and the way they draw some words out, certain kinds of expressions. I think my English has been slightly loosened by my engagement with America, and some of that is going to show in my work in my next book.
This is the last question, and it's: who is a writer?
There are many kinds of definitions of that. I think the simplest one might be a writer, someone who knows how to read well. Although this has nothing to do with the pure fact of writing, but there are few writers I know who are not big readers or very passionate readers. And beyond that, somebody who sits at his desk and gets words written, and knows, and who loves, and who doesn't just love the world but also loves books, loves the idea of form, of taking some kind of experience and shaping it into some kind of verbal artifact that then is much more intense and much more revelatory than the root material with which you began. Yes, so all of these definitions